I call the regular meeting of the Eugene School Board to order on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022 at 7:05 p.m. Board members are attending virtually tonight. Here with me are Gordon Lafer, Alicia Hayes, Michelle Shu, Judy Newman, and myself, Maya Rabasa. I will now turn it over to Superintendent Dye to lead us in the flag salute.
I'll start over now that I'm not on mute. My apologies. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I will read the land acknowledgement. The Eugene School Board would like to acknowledge that our institution sits on the homelands of the Kalapuya people. In the treaties of 1851 and 1854 to 1855, and the subsequent forced removals of many Indian people from Western Oregon, some of the Kalapuya were moved to the Grand Ronde Reservation, and some were moved to the Siletz Reservation. It is important to note that all of Lane County was an important trading and gathering area for camas and other resources. During the Restoration era, from 1977 to 1989, Lane County was designated as the service area for the Confederated Tribes of Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw Indians, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Indians, and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, the Coquille Indian Tribe, and the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Indians. Eugene School District 4J acknowledges that the descendants of original and service area inhabitants of this land are still here today. They are thriving members of our schools and our communities. Countless members of other tribes now also call our community and schools their home. We wish to thank those original stewards of this land. We, as fellow stewards of this land, wish to remember that we need to take good care of this land and take good care of all the members of our school district community. Now, to begin our meeting, the first agenda item is an agenda review. Are there any questions, changes, or corrections to the agenda anyone would like to request? I don't see any hands raised, but I have an item I would like to remove tonight in order to postpone it. I would like to remove item 11.2 under the items for information, receive an update on next steps for facilitation for board retreat and board equity work. I'd like to do so because the scope and phases of this work haven't been finalized yet. So it would be best to postpone this update to a future meeting when we will have more information to share. And I think this just takes a hand raise, but I see Gordon raised his hand. Do you want to speak, Gordon?
Make a motion, but if we don't need a motion and just hand raise them, then I would support that.
I think okay, and I see Alicia agreeing and Judy as well. All right. So postponed. Thank you. Are there any other agenda items for consideration? Michelle?
The item for safe public meetings, I don't feel like we've completed our discussion on that. And I would like to table it.
So Alicia, I'm going to look at you. If we're tabling something, do we do it when it comes up or do we move to postpone it now?
You know, I think you're fine on the agenda review, postponing it now if we get a motion in a second.
Thank you.
Unless you, without objection, if you want to try it that way.
Oh, I love without objection. That's my favorite. So without objection, can we postpone the adoption of a safety resolution?
Can I ask a question to Michelle? Michelle, is that because we are going to do an executive session or a work session on it rather? Or did you want to put it on for information to have more discussion tonight? Move it on the agenda? I'm just curious when we'll do more work.
I believe the last discussion we had was in executive session.
Think so.
Right. So continuation of the discussion, I believe, would also need to be an executive session.
Okay.
Gordon, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm both a little confused and have a question. My confusion is if this is just about the one piece that we had read before, which gives the chair the authority to stop meetings when that seems necessary, or if it's broader. And then my question is, I guess for Michelle, but also either for Andy or for Maya, people who've been involved with this, like, is this something that you think is at a point where it'd be useful not for us to act on, but to put on, to hear an update about where things are at, so that we would just know where things are at, even though we're going to act on it later? Is there, like, are we far enough down the road that that would be useful, or do you think we should just put off the whole thing? Sorry to ask you while you're eating, Maya.
No, Gordon. Michelle, do you have a response to that?
I just feel like there's been further work done on it that I'm not aware of, and I would like to be fully informed.
Michelle, would it make sense for us to act on this at the same time that we're acting on all of the safety plan that we're putting in place, hopefully very soon?
That makes sense to me.
Andy, do you have anything that you want to add to this? I know Gordon mentioned you.
No, nothing to add of substance. Thank you, though.
So then, without objection, are we okay moving forward to postponing this? All right. And so postponed. The next item on the agenda is an introduction of guests and the superintendent's report. Superintendent Dye, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Board Chair Rabassa, members of the board, and members of the listening audience. This is a really exciting time for us in the district. We're putting the final touches on back to school preparations. Building administrative teams have been in for a while, going through some professional development and making some plans for a teacher's return. School secretaries have returned this week, so school offices will be open to the public, and this is like pre-launch sequence. We're really excited, lots of energy in the district. Soon, teachers and educational assistants will be back in schools and getting ready to welcome students back to school on September 7th. The 2022-23 district handbooks will be arriving for students and families in the very near future. Every family will receive an English language version, and those families that have indicated that Spanish is the primary language spoken at home will also receive a completely translated Spanish language version of the back to school district handbook. Really want to thank our Spanish translation specialists for helping us make that happen and improving communications with families. I want folks to know that we're updating our communicable disease plan for the coming year with information sent to us as recently as this afternoon from Oregon Health Authority and the Oregon Department of Education. That will be posted on the district's website and made widely available to students, families, and members of the community, teaching staff, volunteers. More information will be made available to families in preparation for the school year. So we really do appreciate your patience as we make sure that we get you the most up-to-date information in preparation for the year. Although COVID-19 will still be with us to some degree, we want to assure everybody that our plans are designed to ensure a safe in-person learning environment for every student, every staff member, every day of this coming year. And I really look forward to an upcoming great year. Do want to acknowledge that we, like many other school districts, continue to struggle to fill certain positions within our workforce. While there's no doubt a national teacher shortage, we are fortunate in that we're not experiencing the dramatic levels of vacancies felt in other districts across the state or across the nation. We have really talented teachers who attract other really talented teachers to our district. That said, we are having some difficulty with hiring specific positions on the operations side. Transportation and grounds maintenance being two examples. This evening, the board will take action on 3 memorandums of agreement with OSCA for recruitment and retention for transportation and for grounds and maintenance staff. We have some great folks in those 2 departments and across the entire system. So if anybody in the listening audience knows someone that wants to work with a great team and a great organization, please send them our way. We're always looking for talent. I know the community can see the impact of staffing shortages as you drive by some schools and see that we haven't been able to attend to some of the landscaping. We're working on that right now. Again, I really want to thank those grounds folks that are doing the most that they can with what we have. And to the community, we're definitely working on ways to address this. In the last few weeks, I've been meeting with parents, staff, and community members, and will continue to do so through my open invitation for chats with the superintendent. On the district website, we have a sign-up sheet for anybody interested in having a conversation with me. Once you've signed up, staff will reach out to you and set up a time that'll work with your calendar and mine. It can be either by phone, in person, or by Zoom. Working to schedule these as fast as we possibly can. So thanks for your patience until somebody gets back to you. Should be in very, very short order once you sign up. These meetings have been very, very helpful to me to make connections that I wouldn't otherwise have and give me information that I wouldn't otherwise have the benefit of being able to think about. So please, if you're interested in having a conversation about what you think the district's doing really well or things that you think we really need to focus on for improvement, please sign up for a conversation with the superintendent. I'd love to have you. And if we need to schedule another 100 more, I will do that. Thank you very much to the board for your leadership and your time as we prepare for the new school year. We have much important work ahead in delivering on our promises to every student and every family that walks through our door, and I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you very much, Board Rabasa.
Thank you, Superintendent Dye. The next item on the agenda is comments by Board Chair. And so here I go. The back to school buzz is starting to spread, but before we move headfirst into the new school year, I want to take a moment to appreciate all the folks who were part of the tremendous undertaking that is 4J Summer Learning. From all reports, the summer learning experience in 4J isn't only about enriching academics or earning credit. It is also a chance to learn in playful and fun ways. I can share firsthand that my son's experience earning science credit by learning to fly drones, language arts credits in a small class with captivating instruction and materials, and electives credit, learning to bake cookies, practice knife skills, making salsa, and develop his hand at making gravy were all truly joyful learning experiences. This is the type of school experience that pulls kids in and keeps them interested. So thank you to the bus drivers who brought our kids to their programs and returned them home. Thank you to the cooks who filled our students' stomachs. Thank you to the classified staff and teachers who made sure our summer learners not only gained in their academic and social skills, but also did so while having a good time. And thank you to the administrators who supported all the behind the scenes happenings that are necessary for the smooth operation of our summer programming. As we turn our attention forward to the upcoming regular school year, I'm hopeful and optimistic that this valuable approach to instruction, one marked by students and staff experiencing joy and playfulness, shall continue to be showcased in schools district-wide. I want to share a brief report on the first meeting of both the Student Voice and Mental Health subcommittees. Along with board members Laurel O'Rourke and Michelle Hsu, I met with Superintendent Dye last week to get the ball rolling in both of these areas. We dove into developing a vision for the goals of these two subcommittees and will be reconvening next week to plan first steps to begin actualizing these goals. In closing, I want to thank everyone ahead of time for the big lift that is rolling out a new school year. By our next meeting, classrooms will have been set up, lessons will have been planned, class lists and course schedules will have been shared, hallways will be gleaming, painting projects will have dried, kitchens will have shifted to preparing to feed thousands of students twice daily, and bus routes will have been masterfully fine-tuned. And those are just the things that the general community can see happening. As I mentioned earlier, far more goes on behind the scenes, and that work is equally crucial to ensuring a smooth start and deserves kudos. So thank you 4J staff for getting all the puzzle pieces in place to kick off the 2022-2023 school year. Your dedication to serving our youth is the fuel that moves us forward. The next item on the agenda is items raised by the audience. We have 4 speakers this evening. The school board receives written comments by email at board@4j.lane.edu and sets aside time in each regular board meeting to hear public comment. Community members can sign up to speak to the board by submitting their request online. And I'm going to give you a website, but you can also look it up on ours at 4j.lane.edu/board/public comment, or contacting the superintendent's office. The deadline is the Monday before each meeting. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes and cannot give their time to another speaker. A timekeeper will show, oh, actually, we have our digital blue sky timer here on the screen. And that timer will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left, as well as when their time is up. Speakers may offer objective comments or criticism about district operation and programs. For complaints about individuals, the district has a board policy and complaint process. Please contact the superintendent's office at 541-790-7707 for more information about submitting a formal complaint. I'm going to hand it over to Lisa, who will be announcing and welcoming in our community members giving public comment tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 4 community members signed up to speak. Our first speaker is Spencer Davis. He should be coming in shortly, followed by Larry Lewin. Spencer, when you are promoted over to panelists, please turn on your camera and your microphone so that we can hear you, and we'll start the timer.
Okay. Superintendent Day in the committee that stands before me. I propose that we push back school start times by at least an hour in order to support children in their learning. Several studies have shown that children between the ages of 12 and 15 are more prone to several mental health issues when they are mental health issues when they undergo sleep deprivation. And the teen sleep schedule is set to wake up at 8 o'clock. If school starts at 8:30, that doesn't give every person enough time to get up and get ready for school. Other studies have shown a correlation between high school and middle schoolers and higher suicide rates. Mental health is primarily 100% why suicide happens. So pushing back school start times is not only good for people's mental health, it saves lives. In addition, there are several instances where later start times would be better academically for students. The lowest grades of every student is in their first or second period class. If we started school an hour later, it would show how much it grows. And I'm going into my junior year of high school, so this isn't really going to affect me. And so it just shows how much I care about this. It's really all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Spencer.
I'm Larry Lewin, retired 4J elementary and middle school teacher, member of CAPE, Community Alliance for Public Education. Thank you, board members and Superintendent Andy, for this opportunity to speak to you. I read with great interest an August 7th article in the Register Guard about summer school changes with a different approach to teaching and learning. Quoting RG education reporter Miranda Sear, the Summer Enrichment and Academic Learning Program uses non-standard learning methods to help get 1st through 8th grade students on track to succeed in their upcoming school year. 4J Curriculum Administrator for Extended Learning, Cassandra Kamen, said in the article, the kids all seemed engaged. They all seem to be having fun with different activities that are going on. There's lots of hands-on work. One of the goals for our program is really to spark joy in learning for kids. I've been telling teachers all along, if kids aren't having fun in their learning, we need to switch up something and we need to make a change. Wise words, Cassandra. Further quoting a teacher, 3rd grade teacher, Amy Mathinson, quote, although there is direct instruction in summer school, the program is very different from the normal school year with a focus on student engagement. The curriculum is different from what we use in our general ed classrooms. The kids are so excited to participate. That's a big difference. It's not like regular school. We have a lot of enrichment activities, a lot of fun. And it's fun for teachers too, because it's so different. Outstanding ideas, Amy. Imagine that, more student engagement by having fun. A 4th grade teacher at Charlemagne, Shelley Hopper Moore, said, the students are socializing, they're doing science, they're being creative. This sounds like I'm making it up, but I'm not. It's one kid said that he loves summer school. Oh, and it's a weekend. We're not going to be able to be here until Monday. She says she doesn't generally hear that in the regular classroom. A lot of these kids are really excited to be here, and that surprises me. Imagine that, kids being excited in school. Wow. And at the high school level, the article said over 1,000 students enrolled in the summer intensives with over 40 courses to choose from. And there were some purely academic courses available, but as Maya just said, there were other courses, electives, that students normally don't take during the school year. And it gives them an opportunity to study things like Japanese mythology, folklore, beekeeping, crime science, drones. We like that. I taught for 24 years, and I know that without these components, learning suffers. Kids need it. Are we going to learn something from summer school as we move into the fall? I urge leadership to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Next, we have Roscoe Karen, who will be coming in shortly, and followed by Ann Neeland. Roscoe, when you are in, please turn on your camera.
Good evening. My name is Roscoe Karen. I'm a retired 4J teacher and also a member of CAPE. Members of the board, as always, thank you for your time and effort on behalf of our community. More than ever, your role is complicated and will require great wisdom as well as competence. At this particular moment in time, I believe the words you use will matter as much as your actions. Please cast your net widely. I wish you and the new superintendent the best. My sense is that you will have the opportunity to forge a dynamic relationship that is based on a healthy exchange of ideas. I realize that there are far too many issues and ideas on your plate. Understanding that, I nevertheless would like to voice a number of questions that have occurred to me in recent years. I appreciate your forbearance. Regarding special education and equity, what percent of 4J students are identified as qualifying for special education services? What percentage of students were identified 10 years ago, 20 years ago? What are the demographics, income, and ethnicity of students who qualify for special education services? Is it possible that low-income students are over-identified for special education services based on some form of systemic bias? Regarding easy CBM testing, are the easy CBM tests administered by 4J mandated by state or federal law? If so, which specific law? If so, exactly how many tests are mandated by law and at which grade levels? How many 4J personnel are working in positions at the building or district level that are related to easy CBM testing, data collection, or data-related jobs? On average, how many hours do 4J teachers spend each year in meetings dealing in some manner with easy CBM test scores? On average, how much class time do students miss per week while they are out of class for remediation based on easy CBM test scores? And during primary grade parent-teacher conferences, what percentage of time is spent discussing test scores? What percentage of time during primary grade parent-teacher conferences was spent discussing test scores 10 years ago? Lastly, a much broader and important question regarding developmentally appropriate education. What is the district's view on developmentally appropriate education in the primary grades? How does that manifest in school classrooms and buildings? And what is the district's view of developmentally appropriate education in the middle grades? How does that manifest in classrooms and school building philosophies and programs? I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Roscoe.
Ann Nealand is our last community member to speak this evening.
Am I on?
Your microphone is. If you could turn on your camera, we'd love to see you.
I think I did. I'm on a Mac, which I don't usually use. Oh, here we go. I got it. Okay. Thank you.
Here you are.
Hello. Good evening, Eugene School Board members. Last year, in his 6th grade year, my son participated in the 4J School District sex education class with Jennifer Sherlock. I was alarmed and thoroughly dissatisfied with the curriculum of this class. From what I could discern, there was a limited teaching about traditional sex education and instead lots of gender, gender, gender. Just at a time in our children's lives that necessitates basic, clear information based on biology and respectful human relationships, teaching this politicized and convoluted curriculum is despicable. The idea of identifying with a gender that is different from the one you are born with is a concept that is appropriate for adults, and even then relevant only to a small minority of Americans. Introducing this idea to children is wrong, and children younger than middle school is unconscionable. At 12, most of my son's classmates have not meaningfully started puberty or have just started in the case of numerous girls. This is the age when children must be given clear and grounded information that scaffolds their personal development. Indoctrinating children with ideas that they should interpret their natural questions about biology and who they are as signs that they may not have been born in the wrong body is psychological abuse. And more disturbing, this deliberate timing fits with a political agenda to confuse and ultimately surgically mutilate our children. Are there adults that choose to take hormones and have surgery to alter their bodies? Yes, and I say that is their right and they should be respected for their personal choices. However, children should not be allowed to make these decisions before the age of adulthood. And teaching about these weighty and life-altering decisions to minors and impressionable teens is misguided, cruel, and wrong. Who doesn't tell stories and laugh out loud at the clothes they wore, the haircuts they sported, the things they did, the stuff they had to have when they were teens? Do you reminisce fondly that those were the days of your best judgment? I don't think so. These days, you hear heartbreaking stories of minors or adult children who made hormonal or surgical changes to their bodies and then regret the permanent decisions the adults in their lives allowed them to make. Let's wake up and get this politicized agenda out of our schools. Cherish, teach, and value our children to support their minds, bodies, and spirit, not to confuse and burden them with the garbage of the 4J sex education curriculum. We can do better. Our children deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank all the speakers and the community members who signed up to share with us. Without your input, we would not have the crucial access to your perspectives that inform the work that we do. Next on the agenda are comments by employee groups. And my understanding is we have all 3 employee groups here with us tonight. I see Eugene Education Association queued up. Lisa, is that who's coming first?
That is correct, Sabrina Gordon.
Welcome, Sabrina.
Thank you, Maya. Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Dye. My name is Sabrina Gordon, and I'm speaking for the members of the Eugene Education Association tonight. Some licensed staff have already returned from summer break, and the rest will be back soon. Educators are preparing to welcome our students for a new school year, including plans for communicating how students will be supported this year. Staff deserve to feel supported as they return too. For licensed staff, the biggest need is time to do their job. But tonight I want to mention something different related to supporting the health and safety of all 4J staff. For the last couple years, 4J has provided a special leave bank to support staff who got COVID or were exposed and required to quarantine. The Centers for Disease Control recently updated their recommendations regarding COVID, and the Oregon Department of Ed and Oregon Health Authority reiterated today that decisions about COVID safety plans will continue to be up to local districts to determine. Quarantine for exposure is no longer part of the plan, but isolation requirements for identified COVID cases remain. Continuation of a COVID leave bank is in the best interest of 4J. It would provide a safety net to support isolation requirements that are intended to keep students and other staff safe. Staff have sick days to use, but if they run out, many staff members could face financial hardship if forced to take unpaid days for COVID. New hires, including our early career educators, are most at risk for facing such a situation. We certainly don't want to put staff in a situation where they have to decide whether to isolate without pay or come back to work with COVID and expose students and other staff. As 4J competes with other school districts during an ongoing and increasing workforce shortage, attracting educators and support staff to our district should be a high priority. If 4J wants to stand out as a destination district, one which educators and support staff would choose to come to and choose to stay in, the best way to do so is to garner a reputation for taking care of staff. When staff feel valued, supported, and taken care of, they're more likely to choose 4J, stay in 4J, and take care of 4J students. EEA stands with OSEA in requesting the continuation of a COVID leave program for all staff. And as always, we stand ready to work with you in efforts to make 4J the best it can be. Thanks.
Thank you, Sabrina. I see we have MAPS coming up next. Welcome, Seth.
Good evening, Board Chair Rabassa, school board members, Superintendent Dye, and everyone in the listening audience tonight. My name is Seth Faflin, and I'm the president of 4J MAPS. MAPS stands for Managers, Administrators, Professionals, and Supervisors. I'd like to give a giant shout out to all the 11 and 12-month MAPS employees who are working hard this summer to hire new staff, prepare new curriculum, plan professional development, and ready our buildings and systems for the teachers and students who will soon return. This summer, there's a feeling of optimism that this coming year will be better than what we've been through together in the last 2 years. Yes, we do still have that long shadow of the COVID pandemic upon us, as well as other challenges, but we're coming together stronger than ever as a 4J community. We still have post-pandemic healing to do together, and I am grateful to see our district recognizing how much we need to emphasize social emotional learning and mental health. This year will be one of renewal, reconnecting, and forging ahead together with positive intention and attention to supports that meet the needs of students and staff. As MAPS employees, we want to hear from you in the listening audience, and we want to collaborate with you. We want every licensed and classified staff, every parent and student, every volunteer and community member to feel connected to our schools. We are centering belonging, inclusion, and equity, and we are so looking forward to a return to in-person events with all of you. If you are a parent or a guardian in our listening audience and you've just moved to Eugene, or if you have an incoming kindergarten student that you have not yet registered, please do reach out to your neighborhood school to register your child. We would love to meet with you and connect with you, and we'd like to get your child registered so that we can update our class lists and prepare for your child to start the year with us. And if you're interested in volunteering, please reach out to your neighborhood school and principal. We do love and appreciate our volunteers. I hope all of you listening tonight can feel the growing excitement of starting a new school year in just 3 weeks. We should all take a minute to view this through the eyes of a 5-year-old child who's about to enter their first day in kindergarten. Can you put yourself in their shoes to share in that sense of wonder and curiosity and their deep desire to connect, to explore, to play, and to learn? With that perspective in mind, let's collaborate together to make this year filled with joy, growth, learning, and belonging. Thank you, board members, and thank you all of our dedicated 4J staff who have worked during the summer to make this coming school year a great success. Take care. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Seth. And last but certainly not least, we have OSEA President Sheila Wagner with us. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you. Good evening. And thank you for the opportunity to speak and for your service on the school board. I think sometimes folks forget that you all do this on a voluntary basis, and I just want to say I appreciate it. I also appreciate the changes that I'm seeing in our 4J school district, changes that I hope will continue, as I know many classified employees feel that hope too, or they wouldn't stay. They see that hope in some of the MOAs, like those on the agenda tonight. Those MOAs are a good start at approaching the living wage that our classified employees desperately need to survive. It's really difficult for many of our classified who live from paycheck to paycheck, some of them holding extra jobs to make ends meet. Our folks just cannot afford to miss time off work for any reason, and will sometimes even come into work when they don't feel so good. I spoke to a member who had contracted COVID for a second time. She was really worried because she had gone through what little sick leave time that she had accumulated. She'd used that 10 days worth of COVID sick leave, and when we had the COVID sick leave, and was looking at potentially losing 5 days of work. Now, this may not seem like a lot to some folks, but that's 25% of her monthly pay that she uses to budget her bills on this single income. She was really scared that she may not be able to make her rent payment and asked me, what if I get an eviction notice? I gave her some resources, but I could tell that she would be having a hard time asking for that extra help. Have you ever been in a position like that before? It's not a good spot to be in. And this is just one story. I bring this up because I know the district wants students and staff to be safe. And I think it would be another one of those changes of which classified would think, yes, they do care. There is hope. Those same classified then tell other folks, and guess what spreads faster than COVID? When an employer treats their people with respect and dignity. So let's make 4J that place again that people could call a good job. Let's show people that 4J really does care by implementing a COVID sick leave bank and living wages. Now that would be recruitment incentives to people to join our 4J team. I know this board listens, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sheila. Next on the agenda, we have comments and committee reports by individual board members. Do I have anyone who wants to kick it off? Is that you saying you're ready, Alicia?
I, in the last 2 weeks, have not had any committee have not attended any committees, so check on that. Just welcome everyone. Looking forward to the new school year. Thank you everyone who spoke, and looking forward to the back to school event as well as the opening of our new school of Edison. So there's my 2 cents. Thanks, Maya.
Thanks, Alicia. Who wants to follow up Alicia? Michelle?
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier, Maya, that we had a committee meeting last week. I don't need to speak further on that, but this week I've joined a training for a program called Sources of Strength. And there are 4J staff and educators in attendance, as well as folks from the county, Lane ESD, local mental health professionals, and there are people who have traveled from as far as Florida. So there are a lot of, it's a big group, and there are people from all over. And it's really encouraging to see collaboration within the district, the community, and what folks are setting in place statewide. And we can see similarities across the country. So we're really not alone in our challenges and also our strengths. The framework is interesting because it provides a lot of flexibility and creativity for schools. You know, they have their different characteristics, and yeah, I think it's something new for 4J. It holds a lot of potential because it can be customized to suit specific needs, and is also broad enough to allow for change. So yeah, it sounds like a really great program.
Thank you, Michelle. I want to point out there was even one person who will be taking this back to Germany, which is pretty exciting. It's been quite a interesting few days. Gordon.
Thank you. I want to first thank the staff unions for the reminder that even as the pandemic is winding down, a COVID sick leave bank remains a critical issue for a lot of 4J employees. And this seems like a solvable problem, and one I hope we can solve quickly. We're also scheduled on the agenda to approve several memoranda of understanding with classified employees, which is great. I know that we're continuing in negotiations with OSCA, and on this too, I hope we can quickly come to an agreement for the overall union contract on terms that guarantee a living wage for everyone who works for the district, and that does everything we can, obviously within finite resources, to recognize, honor, and support the incredible work that classified employees do for 4J students. This past Saturday was the Eugene Pride Festival. You know, the whole country celebrates Pride in June, and we celebrate it in June and in August. And I just think that it's particularly important this year that at a time when women and queer people, and particularly gender non-binary and trans people, including students, are under legal attack in many states, it's all the more important for us to be clear that we 1000% stand behind, honor, and are enriched by 4J's queer staff and students. I also want to appreciate the recommendation of Spencer Davis, who spoke earlier tonight about pushing back the start time, at least of high school. Like, we all know that this lines up better with the, what do they call it? Circadian rhythm, the sleep rhythms of human beings in their teenage years. I don't know if it's doable, but when we're trying to look at everything we can for mental health, I also want to look at this and see if it's a possible thing. I think it's a smart idea if it turns out to be doable. I also want to thank Larry Lewin, and I know this is just like parroting things other people said, and this is also somewhat related to mental health. When I looked at summer school and saw that article and heard from people involved in it that we have beekeeping and cooking and dance and Japanese mythology and drones, that this is exactly what we need during the school year. We have higher student engagement, learning, and I would bet better mental health. This shows us the huge range of talents and creativity of our teaching staff. And we do this in summer, partly because summer is not straitjacketed into content set by standardized tests, but all year round, we keep saying that student engagement is the most important thing. Social and emotional learning is the most important thing. And I think it's critical this year that we look at what we're able to do so well during the summer and figure out how to import more of that into the rest of the school year. And the last thing is, I want to thank the brave baristas at Starbucks who all across Eugene are on strike this week, including 4J graduates. I think the example of standing up for themselves and their friends, taking action and facing serious risks in order to create a more just economy models one of the most important lessons we can offer current students. So I wish them success and I'm grateful for what they're doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. Judy?
I think I'm left, so that's great. I want to thank again all the people who spoke tonight, including our employee unions. It was really, thought some excellent points were brought up and important things to consider. And I just wanted to add some ideas to this, expand on some of the comments we've heard. I've been thinking really a lot about the pre-conference presentation on family engagement in schools that several of us from the board and the staff attended this summer. The fact that parent and family engagement is critically important ingredient in student success and well-being. And when there's disengagement, there's a lack of trust and fear. It may seem obvious to many of us, but we've not really focused our attention or commitment or resources on this very important aspect of education. And if it's considered, it's often an afterthought, really, with not a lot of resources. So valuing and supporting family engagement must be reflected on all levels and in all parts of our school district, in our policies, in our procedures, and in our practices. So committing to a culture of mutual respect, to engaging every family, two-way communication that proactively keeps parents informed and knowing how they can support their own students at home, and listening to concerns with curiosity. Practices that engage families in decision-making, I want to see us implement, and the necessary resources and training to really make this work. We could really begin this process on a very important time, which are transition times for kids. These are very often stressful times, both for kids and for parents, and it's really critical times for establishing a foundation to future communication and relationships to students. I know Seth tonight mentioned those incoming 5-year-olds. I've watched many of them enter school, and it is a really important time for both kids and families. So from pre-K to kindergarten, from elementary to middle, and also middle to high school. So I'm really hoping that this year we can focus and commit to figuring out how to effectively, really effectively on all levels, engage our families. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. I am certainly happy that that is one of our superintendent's 3 goals. I'm in agreement. Next on our agenda item is consent group items for action. There are 7 items on the consent agenda tonight. Gordon?
I'd like to move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Do I have a second on that? Alicia? Okay. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda as moved by Gordon and seconded by Alicia, please raise your hand and keep your hand raised. This motion passes by a unanimous vote. Now on the next item on the agenda is items for information. The first item for information is a presentation of the report listing credit cards. And this will come to us from Superintendent Dye.
Thank you. This is much like a Division 22 assurances, and we are required to report to the board the number of purchase cards that are distributed throughout the district. In your board packet, you'll see the distribution at the school level and department level which programs and which individual staff members within the district have been issued purchase cards. It's not much more rich than that, but I'm happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Do we have any questions about this topic? All right, sounds like we're settled on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item for information is to, well, for the listening audience who wasn't here at the beginning, just so you're aware, we moved to postpone the next item. So we will be receiving an update on the next steps for facilitation for board retreat and board equity work at a future date. We move on to items for information, and similarly to the last item, we will also be postponing the approval of resolution concerning protective measures to ensure safe public meetings to be postponed to a future date as well. So now we move on to selecting a date for board retreat. This is for me to bring forward to you all. And I want to preface this with a declaration as to how challenging and difficult this has been, and my attempts to really thoughtfully and carefully secure a date as soon as possible. Between now and October 24th, there are 2 days, when every board member will be in town. We determined that it was really important for us to have this meeting in person. And those 2 days are Tuesday, September 6th and Wednesday, September 7th. That Wednesday is a board meeting, so it is not an option for us, which leaves us Tuesday the 6th. Unfortunately, however, due to obligations that cannot be rescheduled, the earliest we can start on Tuesday, September 6th is 4 p.m. Keeping in mind that the intent of the retreat is to accomplish 2 things. 1, taking care of board business, specifically setting board goals and board working agreements. And 2, working on our group relational health. I would like to propose that we focus on beginning the year with goals and working agreements in place and prioritize that in our meeting schedule. As such, and I have to emphasize this right now and then again at the end, this is not ideal. This is not what I want to have happen. And I am 100% open to other suggestions of anybody who can creatively break down the scheduling conflicts that our board has. Scheduling challenges, we'll call it. So I would like to propose that we meet from 4 to 8 on Tuesday, September 6th, to take care of board goals and working agreements and any other board business that we can fit into that time slot. And then we will meet again from 4 to 8 on Saturday, October 1st. October 1st is the first opportunity to schedule the second half of the retreat with only 1 board member absent. Again, far from ideal. I'm willing to do this if the board commits to ongoing relational health work. This is not the type of work that is a one and done type of project. And I would be sure to schedule the next round of relational health work when the board member who cannot be here on October 1st would absolutely be able to attend. I want to say again, this is not ideal, but every day that passes puts us further into the school year. So again, I'm open to other suggestions if anyone else can suggest a better solution. But for now, my proposal is that we meet on Tuesday, September 6th from 4 to 8, and then again Saturday, October 1st from 4 to 8. And I want to clarify one point. The September 6th meeting would be virtual. The October 1st ideally would not. Judy.
I'm just wondering which board member can't be there and how they feel about it. It feels funny leaving someone out for relational activities. I don't know who it is, and maybe that they're fine with it, but it just isn't ideal, as you've said many times.
Absolutely. I think I'll leave it up to that board member to self-identify. I definitely reached out to them earlier, and they know the hang up that we are in. And I want to, I'll share that nobody considers this ideal. And again, I have jumped through this scheduling conundrum back and forth, sideways with Lisa multiple times a day, practically for the last month, and as well as with Gordon. I'm not sure what other solution we have.
And Maya, I know I've seen your efforts. You definitely get scheduling persistence award here, but just wondering, yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? Anybody have any suggestions? I'm open to all of your brilliance, or and no judgment on ideas. You can throw out ideas that even after you say them out loud, you decide they're not what you want to do either. Gordon, and then Judy again.
I'll defer to Judy because I have no brilliance and was just going to suggest going with your idea as the best available option, given how exhaustively you've worked at this. But if Judy may be more brilliant than me.
I'm not claiming brilliance, Gordon. I just have a question. How far out in the scheduling do we have to go to get everyone? Did we look, is it November? Is that where we go?
Monday, October 24th. If it's a Monday, I think it's a Monday. This is what the block of days looks like, just to give everybody a visual. Those 2 days are the only days. So yes, Monday, October 24th is our first opening after those 2 days. And again, the relational health hope on my part is that this is not the only time and that we do continuous work on this. I think that everybody will benefit from it. And honestly, it usually can be very enjoyable.
So I guess maybe one idea would be do a couple hours on the first and then a couple hours again on the 24th, where everyone can be there.
Yeah. And by a couple, do you mean two? Literally?
Yeah, I mean, I just threw out that number, could be 2 or 3, but at least do it in smaller increments so we can include everyone. And because the 24th is still October.
Right. I will say that one of the things that I would like to incorporate into this type of relational health work is sharing food together. And so that would be part of that 4-hour slot. So we can still work around your idea of shortening it to 2 or 3 hours, but just to throw that out there. And Alicia, I won't make mole until you can be there. And I just totally said your name. I'm sorry. Alicia, do you want to speak now?
Did you want me to go? I'm sorry you didn't call.
I'm so sorry, yes.
Okay, I didn't know there was food, so I'm pulling my option for missing. Because I told Maya, it'd be hard not to not be there, but I also think then I get the pass with I can behave poorly towards you all as a group and just say, oh, I wasn't at the training. I'm also looking forward to being able to play that card. So it is a wait of 22 days. I did tell Maya, I'd like to be there, and if everybody's okay with somebody missing, then I will be okay with that. I am on the East Coast, so there's no way if I could change my schedule, I would. But it's the Women's March, so that I'm staying there for. So that's what's going on. Anyhow, those are my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you, Alicia. Gordon?
I guess I just think I have the same lack of brilliance as before. I think that the things we're trying to do are important enough that it's not worth it makes sense to do them even partially and imperfectly rather than wait till November. And I think we should do what, as much as we can to make sure that if there's a person who can't make one or the other things, that is accommodated in every way we can, including the fact of not making, for instance, if we're talking about goals, we should not be making final decisions at that meeting, but at a meeting which I think is the plan anyway, that would happen at a board meeting where everybody could be there. So given that, I guess, unless somebody has another proposal, I would move that we move forward with the thing that you laid out, Maya.
Do we have a second? Gordon moves and Michelle seconds. Do we have any more discussion? I'll jump in. I just want to clarify, Gordon, that as I understand it, the board work date would include everyone. As of now, I did reach out to Kirthi, and my understanding is that you reached out to Laurel. So it seems as though that date will be accessible to everyone to meet online to do the board work. If for some reason everyone is not there, we are absolutely not making any final decisions. We'll just move forward. And it is my intention for us to set this up so that if anybody is not able to attend, their input can still be brought into that space by giving you guys a little homework. I know I'm sweetening the deal with that, but it'll take a little pre-meeting work on everybody's part. Is there any more discussion?
I didn't hear if we were going to also consider meeting the second time on the 24th or no.
I keep muting myself. That was part of my original proposal, Judy, so I assumed that Gordon included that in his motion. Gordon, is that right? So then the motion would be to meet from 4 to 8 on September 6th, Tuesday, and then again on Saturday, October 1st from 4 to 8. Any more discussion?
No, but was the third thing then on October 24th? That was my question.
That is the second. Oh.
October 1st? Oh, is it the 24th or the 1st?
I'm sorry, I overlooked what your point was. I'm sorry. Judy, do you want to make that as a separate motion after we finish this one?
Sure.
Okay. So if we don't have any more discussion, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Can I jump in? Sorry, I didn't push the right button.
Absolutely.
It would be really helpful for me if we also scheduled the 24th. It would be easier for me to vote for this, knowing I was going to get some more time with you all on this subject that you're working on.
So Alicia, would you like to then amend this motion?
No, because I'm afraid it won't pass and I can't take rejection.
Oh, I think, okay. Well, then let's do it as a separate motion with.
Just to
Okay. Gordon, do you want to amend your original motion?
amend my own motion to include the 24th.
Excellent.
I second that.
Excellent. Okay. So the amended motion made by Gordon now includes the 24th from 4 to 8. Unless, yeah, 4 to 8. Yes. Thumbs up. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand and keep it raised. I see 5 hands raised. That's a unanimous pass. Thank you, everyone. It's been quite a journey with this calendar. I'm looking forward to, this is giving us extra time. So this is turning out to be a win-win, even if it came out of some not so pleasant beginnings. The next item for consideration is to approve resolution of complaints. The board reviewed with legal counsel complaints submitted. In this meeting, the board will take action. Would someone like to make a motion? Right, Gordon,
I move to dismiss all 7 of the complaints that we discussed.
is there a second? Okay, moved by Gordon and seconded by Michelle. All those up. Sorry, is there any discussion? Alicia, I see your hand.
Yes, because of the short notice of the topic for the executive session, if I understand why that happened, I just want you to know, I was not able to attend. I just want people to know I wasn't able to attend that executive session. I think there was good conversation that went on there, and that I'm just, for the first time in my 16 years on this school board, I'm not going to vote because you have enough to make a decision. If you didn't, I might ask for a recess for an update, but I think you're fine. And so I'm just going to go ahead and abstain from voting because I don't have all the information that I believe I need to make that decision. Okay, we're good. All
Thank
right,
you, Alicia.
thanks.
Is there any other comment, question? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand and keep it raised. I see my hand raised, Judy Newman, Michelle Shu, and Gordon Lafer. All those opposed, same sign. No opposition, and Alicia Hayes has already indicated that she is abstaining from voting. So the motion passes with board members Maya Rabasa, Judy Newman, Michelle Shu, and Gordon Lafer voting yes. Next item on the agenda is items for action at a future meeting. The board is not scheduled to take action on these items tonight. These items will come back to the board for action at a future meeting. The first item for us to hear about are considering revisions to board policy JHCA/JHCB, immunizations, physical examinations, vision screening, eye examination, and dental screening. Superintendent Dye is presenting this item to us.
Thank you. It's a first read, and in your board packet, also available online, is a number of documents. There's a clean draft copy available to you so that you can see what the currently proposed policy would be. You also received an edited version with track changes so that you can see what was changed. Like I'd said, it's a first read. We'll consider this again at a subsequent meeting. The recommended changes are suggested to help policy align with best practice and with existing rules. Happy to take any questions that you would have right now, if there are any. Otherwise, oh yeah, Judy. You're on mute, Judy.
I think on the, was the thing in accordance with Oregon law deleted or added? I couldn't read on my copy that I had in the first paragraph.
Sure. No, it's there. There's a I believe a comment attached to that.
Okay.
Because it reads in accordance with Oregon law on the clean draft copy as well.
Okay, good. Because I thought, I was under the impression it was something we had to do.
Indeed.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, sounds like we're, go ahead. Go ahead, Andy.
I was just saying thank you.
Keep muting myself. The next item is to consider the process for selecting student board reps and for including student voice at board meetings. As I mentioned earlier in my opening statements, the Student Voice Subcommittee, which is made up of Michelle Shu, Laurel O'Rourke, and myself, met with Superintendent Dye to discuss the possibilities for engaging student representation. We decided our first priority is to work on getting student board representatives selected and trained to join us on the board. We'll be meeting next week to explore the possibility of revising that process by which students are selected. We will be bringing a recommendation for consideration to the board at our next meeting. Are there any questions? Michelle or Superintendent Dye, do either of you have anything you want to add to that? No?
No, just, I think that student voice and diverse student voice broad input's really important. And I'm looking forward to opportunities to talk about how we might be able to make that happen.
Great. Judy?
I just would say that last year we talked about this a lot, looking forward to this year. So I just asked that maybe some of that conversation get retrieved from past minutes, or and maybe you remember it. I could probably find some of it, but it included the equity code, directors as well. And anyhow, some good ideas were suggested. We were just late in the year.
You're absolutely correct. And this is just the first priority in terms of the work of including student voice. This is also a committee that carries over from last year, although Alicia has stepped down and Michelle has joined instead. So it's definitely going to be a continuation of the conversation that we already started and where we came into this. But our intention is definitely to include the equity directors in their input, but also the regional coordinators. So this isn't something that we are doing in isolation.
Great. And to consider the idea, I think we talked about having also a council with a larger membership, that
Right.
would also inform. Okay, great.
We're keen on not having the board representatives join late. So we really wanted to prioritize and focus our attention on this first step, but that is not at the exclusion of that other work as well. But thank you for reminding us that we have quite a few resources to remind us of the conversations we had, so we don't continue to reinvent the wheel. Is there any other questions or comments? Okay, great. So the board is scheduled to meet next on Wednesday, September 7th, which leaves us now with the last item on our agenda, which is suggestions by the board for consideration of items at future meetings. Judy, do you have your hand up again, or is that from before? Oh, okay. Gordon and then Alicia.
I just realized that October 1st is a Saturday, and we scheduled ourselves to meet from 4 to 8 on Saturday. And I just wanted to check if there's anybody who needs it to be then, that's fine. I can make those hours, and not that a board meeting is not my idea of a good time Saturday night, but I wanted to check if people were available earlier in the day, if maybe we could, even though Maya, you've done so much work, if we could put back to Maya and me to get in touch with Kirthi and Laurel and see if it's possible to do that earlier in the day, since I thought maybe we just did 4 to 8 all 3 days because they were needed on some.
Did you have a different time in mind? Because I partly picked that because you had suggested having dinner together.
Oh, I'm sorry. I take it all back. I didn't realize that was the dinner plan. I take it back.
Yeah, it included that. But we can do it earlier. People
just
hungry it all the time.
That was my misunderstanding. Thank you. I take it back.
Alicia?
Thank you. I'm not sure where we are on this, but I do know that back in spring of 2020, when we voted as a board to remove EPD from our classrooms, we talked about following up and seeing if there were ways that we would partner with them that could more enhance or support the work that needs to be done in schools with EPD. So I'm not sure, and I'm just curious if leadership could take a look at that and see if that's something that we need to put on our agenda. I know we did. We did our work with some consultants whose names are escaping me right now, and that was part of it. But I thought we were always talking about coming back and revisiting some sort of contract or some sort of partnership. And I know, we haven't been in school, so it wasn't an issue. But anyway, I don't know if you needed another hand for that, or if you guys could, if you can just take a look at that and let us know what's going on.
Sure. I think, Alicia, that you're, I know that I have been eager for us to pick up the work that we did with Sea Change and make sure that we don't leave the All Students Belong, as we named it, process in limbo. So I think that even beyond the question that's specific to EPD, but just the broader question, we have some work that needs more attention. So it definitely needs to come onto one of the agendas sooner than later. Thank you. Gordon?
I just wanted to ask if that was part of any discussion that the equity committee was having, like if there's, does it just go to the, or should it just be a discussion at the full board, or is there somebody that's looking at that more in detail that might bring to us analysis or proposal or something?
As far as I understand, the equity committee has not convened their first meeting yet. Andy, if you can let me know if I'm incorrect there, but this is certainly a topic that I imagine that they will be interested in advising us, as it is an advisory committee.
First meeting is in early September. So there has not been any specific conversation about this with them. But in terms of a quality decision, it would absolutely have to include their perspectives and their voices, in my opinion.
Judy?
I comment on it. So I think it would be great for leadership to look at the report that came out, which was to the board, and then maybe make specific recommendations to the equity committee was very involved in gathering the information and the conversation. The equity directors. So you might want to look at it and see what could go to the board and what should go to the maybe committee, and maybe it's all of it, but I would review the report, and maybe leadership could do that, because the recommendations are there.
Yeah, yes. As I recall, the report, it definitely deserves a fresh set of eyes on it. So I'm not sure who's next on leadership, but I know that Michelle and I are the board liaisons to the equity committee. So maybe we can think about that in conjunction with Superintendent Dye and have a meeting with the equity directors. Would that make sense? Is that okay, Judy? Does that sound good to you?
Sure, I'm happy also. I'm pretty familiar with the report, was involved to participate. In fact, so I would like to be involved in any way I can.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else besides the continuation of the All Students Belong long haul project that we need to bring to leadership? Judy, I see your hand up, but I'm wondering if it's still just lingering. It's okay. All right, well, I just want to point out that as with the first two board leadership meetings, we will continue to share out meeting notes from the meeting so that all board members are aware of the discussion. And we have decided that those will be shared as an attachment to the Friday memo. So keep an eye out for those the Friday following our leadership meetings, and you can catch up on where we discussed in the direction that we chose to go in as you're also getting ready to look at your agenda packets. With that, I want to thank everyone for a very nice, quick meeting tonight. And this meeting is adjourned at 8:24 p.m. Bye, everyone.